Hi everyone, my name is Monique. I'm the American Sign Language Interpreting major. This process for me was an extremely challenging one. I have never interpreted a play before, but I do have a large background in theater. Myself and 3 other students, juniors in the major, we worked with our department head as well as a professor to work on translation work. We weren't actually able to start the translation work until we saw a full run-through of the show, because words on paper have a completely different meaning than words being said. And another challenge of this was every night the actors would say things differently. So unfortunately, we were not unfortunately, but we were interpreting every night. It wasn't that we went home, memorized what we were going to say, and then said it. We actually had to stay on top of what the actors were saying just in case they missed something, or if they added something. We were there with them the entire way, interpreting exactly what they said. And I had to work with Antonio to negotiate where we were going to stand, because this was an interactive show. The actors were throughout the stage, and I also had to negotiate with him lighting, because the deaf people need to be able to see us.
As Nancy mentioned, I am pursuing a major in linguistics and a minor in theater, and the experience I had working on the Seagull really allowed me to incorporate my knowledge of language, specifically Russian in this case, with my passion for theater and performance, which made it one of the most exciting things I have worked on in my college career, really. I was introduced to Antonio, the director of our production, this past October, and assumed the role of a sort of dramaturg with him. I shared with him images, poems, music, films, and materials that I thought would kind of give him a window into Russia. In addition, and more importantly, we began to take a look at the script. Translators, as I see it, and I don't pretend to be an expert on this, but they have 2 major obstacles to overcome during their process. One, obviously, is staying true to the original work and all the literary and cultural baggage that comes along with that. And 2, making the translation current and relevant for a new audience, an audience of a different culture or time, perhaps, in our case, both. The translation that we worked with was one of the best translations I have come across of this particular play. Still, Antonio and I sat for hours in his office, a Russian script on my lap and several other translations in front of him, and we really rediscovered the play together. When we felt that something was lacking in our script, we simply added it. And this was a very, very unique experience to me, because it really incorporated these 2 knowledge bases that I never really thought would come together. In December, I auditioned for the play and was cast, which was incredibly exciting for me. And the biggest surprise, however, came about a week before opening night, when Antonio decided that he wanted a portion of the play spoken in Russian. And we focused on, if anyone saw the play or is familiar with the play, we focused on the play within the play in the first act, and he basically left it up to me to decide where to add the Russian, where to keep the English. Needless to say, code switching, or as it's referred to in linguistics, switching between 2 languages, in this case 2 very, very different languages, is not easy at all. But it gave me a whole new perspective on language. And many audience members actually told me how interesting it was to actually hear Russian in a Russian play. It's an oxymoron.
Also, when it came to the Russian, dealing with that, she didn't find out about that until the week before the play went on. So that means that we didn't find out about that until a week before the play went on. It was difficult to figure out what we were going to actually do with the Russian. We had 3 options, which was translate the Russian into English, learn Russian Sign Language, or just inform the audience that another language was being spoken. We chose the last part, because to actually learn Russian Sign Language would take a lot of time, and we'd have to find a consultant for that. And to translate it into English would actually be giving the deaf people an advantage, because the hearing audience, unless they know Russian, they don't know what's being said either. So those were the choices that we made.
Thank you.
Thank you.